Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Cozio, and we put together this symposium to support the Alzheimer's Association. I had three great speakers that volunteered their time and expertise, and I would like to thank each and every one of them once again, Cathy, Orrin, and Rebecca, for donating your time and supporting our cause. There'll be a link in the comments and the episode descriptions on how you can support the Walk to End Alzheimer's. Thank you so much and enjoy the presentation. All right, so the first person I'm going to ask to come up and speak will be Cathy. And Cathy is CEO of Inspire Careers. It's a full-service career marketing firm based in Buffalo and serving job seekers across the country. Inspire Careers specializes in career launches for new college graduates and career marketing strategies for executives and career-minded professionals. Inspire Careers is the home of the Inspire Careers Student Professional Launch Program, the only new graduate success program in the country, taking recent grads on the journey from college student to rising professional, landing jobs that they've been dreaming of and working towards. She's a three-time career changer with 18 years of experience in human resources, and she provides insights and strategies that help her clients land jobs and create careers that they love. She's also a multiple-time winner of a resume writing award, including, I think this past year, right, Cathy?
2 this year, thank you.
Yeah, 2 this year. So thank you for taking some time with us, and I'm going to continue to let people in and take it away, Cathy.
Thank you again, Nick. I'm so glad that we're all here together. And, you know, on my LinkedIn profile, and I hope everybody has one, because if you don't, then we should be talking afterwards. But on my LinkedIn profile, the first thing in my About section is that job search success starts in the head. And that's what we're really here about today, is talking about mindset and about the role that mindset has in our career success. But let's face it, never more than now, our lives are so intertwined with our careers, our personal lives, working from home, split now, working hybrid. We have so much things going on with our families. It's never been more of this cross-pollination. So really, how can you keep yourself with that highest level of energy, focused on both your personal life and focused on your career? And I'm going to let our other coaches talk about that. I'm going to handle the career part though. But I do say that job search success starts in the head. So this is why this is such a passion of mine, and I'm so glad to be here. But I'm going to share a couple things, and I'm going to share my screen with you to kind of guide our conversation. And let me switch this here. So let me do that. All right. So listen, inspiring career success. Mindset is truly everything. And for those of you that are still on the career journey, and really we all are, but if you are in between jobs and that's where you are in the journey right now, take heart. Your job is out there. I promise you that it is. And just like a good mate in life, it is worth waiting for. But you do have to work towards it. And it really does start in the head for your success. So a couple of quick tips that I recommend for everybody. And they might surprise you, because the reality is I'm not going to talk about resume tips. I'm not going to talk about having a LinkedIn profile. It's really got nothing to do with that. Those are tools, and that's important. But if I had to say the number one job search success strategy is investing in yourself. And when I say investing in yourself, yes, I mean that there might be a money component to that, spending money to invest in some things, to provide you a forum to meet others, to be able to boost your skill sets, to have more powerful tools to communicate your value. That's all the case. But let's talk about a couple other things that go into invest in yourself. And let me say this, why is invest in yourself the first thing? And potentially if I had one slide, this would have been it. That's because you take you wherever you go. We could all be fired from jobs tomorrow. We could walk away from them, whatever the case. But the more you invest in yourself, it's always a return on your investment, because you have to be yourself and you're with yourself all the time. So first thing, invest in yourself for training, right? And when I talk about training, I'm talking a broad range of training. Yes, I'm talking industry training, but I'm also going to challenge you to think of training in a much broader context of training that helps you be your best self, physically, emotionally, mentally. And under there too, you could include certainly the details of things that are important for your search, but a lot of it does cost money. There is an investment in there, but really the training piece, nobody can take that away from you. Getting to be the strongest that you can be in your area of expertise. Certifications are critically important. I don't really recommend people go back to school all that often unless they absolutely have to go get a certain degree. Really, the certifications today are everything, particularly in tech, but not even if you're not in tech, having certifications that help demonstrate your ability in technology. And for those of you, I know there's a couple of you in HR here today, certifications, PHRs, SHRM-SCPs, and so forth, huge, huge, huge. Project management, another one, absolutely huge. Sales certifications, you name it. And these, again, you take wherever you go, the benefit of those. And then I also say coaching. Coaching, and let's think broadly about this as well. Coaching for mental, coaching for emotional dexterity and agility. How about physical too? We talk about this in the mindset, but so much of the mind and body connection is there. And if you're not feeling as energetic as you could, if you're not feeling as good about yourself as you are, invest in a personal trainer or at least get to the gym. So when I say coaching, I mean formal coaching, but I also maybe mean informal coaching. I mean physical, I mean mental, I mean emotional. And if that needs therapy, then that absolutely could be the case as well. But coaching changes lives. And to hook up with a great coach that's going to help get your mind in that right space is completely invaluable to you. And the last thing, or not the last thing, but the next thing is the headshot. And why do I say this? I call this out because headshots, going to have a professional photo session can elevate your self-esteem incredibly. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. But when you spend an hour with a professional photographer developing your brand and really bringing out the best of you, it's completely empowering. Yes, get a resume. You're going to need one of those, right? I'm not going to talk about that because that's a given. And self-care. Self-care is the most important thing you can do for yourself to ensure your career success. And it all goes back to the theme of tonight, is building that confident mindset. And again, if you need therapy, do that. If you want to get a coach, do it. Self-care means telling other people no, not being a people pleaser, putting boundaries, enforcing those boundaries. That is self-care. Being at an interview and asking powerful questions of that, the person that's interviewing you instead of letting them run roughshod over you, following up and walking away if somebody's not respectful to you. That's all self-care. And then the next thing, the next way, the best way to acquire career success is to be different. If everybody's the same, what is going to separate you out from anyone else? And think about this. You know that whether you're applying for an internal promotion or you're moving to another company, there are hundreds of people externally applying for jobs, and you may be one of a dozen people applying for an internal promotion. You really do need to be different. Be your unique self, but be different. Don't be afraid. We're so afraid of sticking out. And I think sometimes with age, it comes a little better that we spend so much time trying to fit in. Is sometimes the older we get, we recognize the value of being different. Being different is your superpower. And once you embrace that, it is a complete game changer. Not being like everybody else. Standing out, standing on your own 2 feet. And listen, if somebody doesn't want you, then it's a gift. Take that as the gift and go turn in another direction. Don't take it personally. Be who you are, and you will attract what you want. It's all about the mindset and being able to be our different selves. The word authenticity is used all the time, and you can certainly use that, but to embrace who you are and what makes you different is really the key to your long-term career success, not just landing the job, but being happy. And then finally, the last tip that I have is trusting your gut. How many of us know, right? We hear this voice inside speaking to us, but we're so busy all the time that it's really kind of difficult to hear it. It's more of a mumble than a voice anymore. I don't know about you, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but we hear the voice, but oftentimes we don't trust ourselves. No, I couldn't possibly do that. No, I remember last time it didn't work. Or we say these things to ourselves. We tell ourselves these truths that aren't really truths, but they become truths to us the more we say them. But our gut, our subconscious mind is there to tell us what we need to do. And remember, what's right for you is not right for everybody. So you have to do what is right for you. The messages that are coming through to you are designed specifically for you. Tap into your higher power and trust your gut. And listen, I love to tell people, try it and see what happens. What have you got to lose? Try it. And you, only you know you, right? We only know pieces of other people. You know what's right for you. And if you trust your gut, it's going to tell you what's right for you. Don't silence that inner voice. Lean into it. And really, it helps you to align the real you with those job opportunities. You can pretend to be somebody else, or you can be who you think they want you to be. But the reality is, you're not going to be happy in that job in the long term. So really trust your gut, know what you want, and go for that. That's what I wanted to talk about today, Nick. Laying the foundation for other great coaches to talk about the piece and how to support what I've opened the door for.
Yeah, that was great, Cathy. I really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions right off the bat for Cathy? Come right on and speak up.
I'd like to know who has tried or has not trusted their gut and has regretted it later. Yeah, me too. Yeah, right?
Yep.
Excuse me. Yeah. And, you know, we're so afraid. We think, no, we're not right, or somebody's going to laugh at us. Somebody's going to make fun, whatever. The reality is nobody cares. They really don't. We think they do. But that inner voice is going to lead us to the right way. And Orrin's shaking his head. He's like, yep, so true. And I think, too, when you test it and you see how it works, then it gives you more. And then you get hungry for it. And then you want to be quiet and you want to listen to it. And that doesn't mean you have to meditate 30 minutes a day. It just means slowing down sometimes and just really listening to what you think you should do that's right for you, not what everybody else is telling you to do.
Yeah, I think that's totally true, Cathy. Orrin?
Yeah, Cathy, I had a question. You were talking about being different and don't be afraid to be different and be authentic. And I love that message. And I was wondering what has been your experience in that, and how have you seen in working with people how that has really been a benefit to them?
Yeah, you know, Orrin, I think sometimes it's about giving people permission to be themselves. And I think we all have to give ourselves that permission. But as a career coach, I find sometimes that's what my clients need from me. They know it's true, but sometimes when they hear it from someone else, maybe because they trust me, maybe because they've invested in me. I mean, who knows what it is that tips that point for them, you know, that it's that tipping point. But sometimes people just need to hear from an objective person to say, yes, you're on the right track. Yes, you should absolutely do that. Try that. And I love open-ended questions for people because I do believe we really do hold the key to the answers ourselves. And for me to sit here and I could tell you what to do, but really that's all I'm doing is telling. And so I have learned when I do coaching for my own coaching, like when I invest in a coach, and I have learned to really embrace that, where the coach reflects it back to me and I solve my own problems through the guided discovery with the coach. And that's where I feel that it happens an awful lot. And really, once you start to do that, and I did say about age, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm going to tell you I'm old enough to finally start leaning into loving myself completely and being able to say, yes, I am here to make a difference. And there is nobody else that can do what I can do, and to just run with it. And really magic things happen.
You're absolutely right, Cathy. And, you know, Taylor said something in the comments about taking decades to trust your gut, right? I am totally there. And we've had long discussions, Cathy and I, about that experience, right? Being able to trust oneself and, you know, with any kind of decision, you know, big or small, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I guess the last thing I'll say on that is, for those that feel like, well, it didn't work out the last time I did it, I think I would encourage you to go back and really try to work through and recreate those circumstances in your head and say, but did I really listen to myself? Or did I maybe diverge from it a little bit? Or did I reinvent what I was thinking of and I did something completely different? And it doesn't mean that, every answer comes to us all the time. Sometimes we do have to work through those things. But I do find that more often than not, when we do trust ourselves and we lean in, better things happen. But it's like everything else, you've got to practice.
All good points. So thank you, Cathy. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We're going to move on. We're going to move on to our next speaker, which is Orrin Lieuwen. Orrin has spent a lot of time in faith-based ministry and gave deep passion for helping others develop and make an impact. Out of his own journey from scarcity thinking about abundance thinking, he started Lionheart Leadership to help entrepreneurs be insanely confident and resourceful. So take it away, Orrin. Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thanks, Nick. Yes, I love the insanely confident there. That's whatever that looks like. That's great to experience. And thank you, Cathy, so much for setting that up. I love that about the career and about the mindset. And so that's a bit where I'm going to go. So to everyone here, what is your dream? What is it that you really, really want to do? Who is it that you really, really want to be? And what is it that you really, really want to have? Because you were on this earth, I believe, for a reason. You are placed here to have a unique, positive impact on the world. As Nick said, I have lived my life, most of my life, with the negative self-talk, procrastination, analysis, paralysis, perfectionism that have held me back from my purpose. And so my mission now is to help other people experience the transformation that I have and to make the impact on the world that they were made to. And so today we're going to go through a few of the things that I have learned in my journey from there to where I am today. So a couple of years ago, I watched a movie called American Sniper, and it's about the US Navy SEAL Chris Kyle. And here he was overseas in a city in the Middle East and with other SEALs, and they were fighting different rebels. And there was this one scene where they were in a Humvee, the SEALs, and they were going through the city. And as they came across this corner of the building, there was some enemy soldiers that right away started opening fire. And there was a bit of a firefight between them. And as the camera panned out, you saw one of the enemy soldiers had a bazooka, and he lifted up, and as he shot it, it went right past the Humvee and just past the head of US Navy SEAL Chris Kyle. And so if that happened to me, I would have jumped for cover or screamed like a little girl or, said, whoa, did you guys see that? But not Chris Kyle. He knew why he was there. He knew what he was doing, and he remained focused on his purpose. And that's exactly what we need. We need an emotional agility. So when problems and when stresses of life are shooting rockets at you, you need to be focused, to have this internal emotional strength to be able to deal with them and to keep moving forward, to stay on your purpose. And so for some of you, maybe you don't really need this. Maybe you feel fine. And so this is for those who don't, who feel frustrated, but you can't really admit it, because in our positivity culture, you're supposed to be happy and to have had a great weekend and to post genius posts on social media every week. This is for those who don't feel that way and want to. And so I want to share with you 3 key steps that you need to take for peak performance that are going to help you move forward towards the attainment of your dream. So step number 1, gain clarity about your values behind your dream. And so you have likely heard the statement, people buy based on emotion, not on logic, right?
True.
And so this is a true statement. And essentially, it is the sales application of the universal truth that every decision we make and every action that we take is coming out of our values, whether it's a lower level value, like a more immediate gratification, or a higher level value, more long-term and what's important to you. And so understanding your values is essentially understanding your subconscious map of meaning that drives your decisions, both good and bad. And so understanding your values behind your goal, the why, is going to help you to set the right goals it's going to help you to adjust which parts of your goal are most important, and it's going to give you a better starting point to move forward. Clarity in your values helps you move from scarcity to abundance. And so here's what I mean. I would often have a goal, and what I would think, and if you probably have felt this as well, is when I achieve this goal, then I will be happy. But what I found is that when I achieve that goal, oh, there's another goal. I'm not really happy. I need that next goal, right? Has anyone experienced this? Yes. And so what I've found in identifying the values behind this goal are actually what I'm searching for. It takes a bit of digging: happiness, joy, peace. And you know, those values are things that I can experience here and now. And so then recognizing that and living from a place of values means, yeah, my goal is still my goal. But instead of trying to attain it in order to achieve happiness, living in that place of abundance and happiness where you're at helps you just enjoy your life. And also, yeah, you're going to achieve the goal because it's part of who you are. And secondarily, communicating from your values also showcases authenticity, as Cathy mentioned, and a passion to those around you. And this is going to increase your influence. It's going to increase your leadership and connection with others. And so key step number one, that was gain clarity in your values behind your goal. Key step number two is form positive beliefs that are going to support you in achieving your dream. Your beliefs about the world are going to determine how you see it, whether you see the world as a bright and a promising place full of beauty and adventure, or if you're going to see it as a dark and a dismal place full of pain and death. And so likewise, your beliefs about yourself are going to determine whether you see yourself as empowered and capable, able to learn new things, overcome obstacles, and achieve your dream, or see yourself as never quite enough, never good enough, or never strong enough, and just somehow destined to fail. And however you believe, your life is going to match 100% with that programming. One client of mine is a manager in a nonprofit. He works hard. He believes in the vision of the organization. He wants to do the best job he can. But for years, he's had defeating beliefs and negative self-talk that's continued to hold him back from relaxing into who he is and really leading from a place of confidence. And so as we've worked together, and as he started to realize his inner potential, his abilities, as he started to really realize who he is, he's been able to sit into that and experience a greater confidence and competence and joy. I hear a dog barking. Okay, thank you. Because he believes he's he believes he's a competent person, and to see him come to this point. And so for you, ask yourself, picture your dream and ask, what qualities or what characteristics will best support me in the pursuit of my dream? And then focus your personal growth there to form those positive beliefs to help you to achieve it. In other words, focus on who before do. Who do you need to be in order to do what you want to do? So step number two, that was form positive beliefs to support you in achieving your dream. Now, step number three for peak performance is access your resourcefulness to fuel momentum towards your dream. And so if you have a goal, something that you have never achieved before, are you going to achieve it by doing the same things you have always done? Of course not. If you want to reach a new goal, you're going to have to take new actions. You have to change how you're showing up. You have to change how you're being present, how you're engaging in your life. And so what does that really look like? And so I boil it down to emotion. The organization Talent Smart said that emotional intelligence is a key predictor of performance for 90% of the top performers in the workplace. And a simple, almost an oversimplified, but great and practical definition of emotion is it is energy into motion. Emotion is literally the fuel for your behavior. Think about it. Think of a time when you in your life have felt curious. What was it like? What did you do? Think of a time when you have felt passionate and excited. Think of a time when you felt depressed or sad. Did you take different actions at the time? Of course you did. I don't even need to hear your answer because based on your emotional state and the resources that you're acting, you're going to behave in a different way. And so what are our resources? When I talk about resourcefulness, essentially, I'm talking about the attitudes and the emotions that are innate within us. Creativity, determination, courage, effort, positivity. None of these require building up a skill, but are things that you can experience here and now. And so to moving away from a place of total resourcelessness, which is essentially being in a state of panic, to moving towards a place of being fully resourceful, being in a state of flow. You see, everyone is doing the best that they can with the resources that they have available at the time. The problem is often we are not aware. And so we fall short, far short of the best that we can do according to what's possible, because it's what the resources that we have available, the things that we're aware of. And so similarly, there are no unresourceful people. There are only unresourceful states. We get in ways of thinking, we get in ways of thinking that hold us back, that become walls for us. And so successful people can self-regulate. And the amazing thing is, it doesn't mean that they always could. It means that they learned to, just like you can. And so craft and cultivate those positive emotions to serve you and to drive you forward. Learn from the positive message behind negative emotions. And so in conclusion, the 3 steps to moving forward is first, gain clarity in your values to motivate you. And second, form positive beliefs to support you. And then third, access your resourcefulness to fuel you.
Awesome, Orrin. Thank you so much. I think the dog was barking in agreement because you were so on to something.
Right, yes.
For sure. So I want to open up the floor for any questions that you might have right now for Orrin.
Yeah, Orrin, I put a question in the chat, and I'll ask that one here. I hear these things and I apply many of them, but then I get off track. Like, what are your recommendations for staying focused? We all have busy lives, and sometimes I feel like I'm so spot on. I'm in the zone. I'm doing it all. Got it all going on, like in what we're talking about, right? Focusing, living, values oriented. And then stuff gets in the way. So how can we stay on track with that? How can we keep recentering?
Yeah, thanks, Cathy. Your question in the chat was, I love to hear your tips to stay focused when the noise gets loud. And I was wondering if you were referring to the dog that was barking.
No, I got my own dog. I wouldn't complain about that, man. I get it.
No, I wasn't stressed out. It was funny. Well, thank you for the question. How do we stay focused when we get off track? I think if I'm going to give 2 simple, practical, well, maybe high level, 2 pieces of advice. I'd say first is what I mentioned, gain clarity in the values. Your goal, continue to go back to your why. Continue to go back to, why is this important? And what is this goal going to do for me? Because oftentimes, or always, when we're off track, what happens is our focus is somewhere else. And sometimes it can be hard to pull ourselves back. But as I mentioned, that the driver of our actions is emotion. And so when you tap into the why, the values, oh, I'm seeking for this goal because it really touches my purpose, right? Whatever your purpose is, that's going to be deeply emotional. And so when you're focused, to remember that the emotion that you connect with your purpose, it's going to help pull you back. And so that's a long-term point for helping you stay focused more long-term. Now, if you get distracted in the moment, I would say a good question. I mean, a lot of these are, you would want to get into specific situations and how can we deal with this specific situation. But essentially, I would say if you have a distraction, if it's a situation, if it's a negative emotion, processing that, well, that's a bit of a process, but essentially to take it seriously, because when we get negative emotions, when we get a feeling maybe of distraction or a feeling of fear that's holding us back, oftentimes we try and push it aside. We try and ignore it, try and keep going, try and move forward. Or we get distracted, right? And our brains, we're just giving into that emotion. And so I think we need to pause and take a step back and say, what's actually happening? What is this emotion? Because when you understand yourself, there's always a positive message. And so, for example, when you're feeling angry, the positive message is there's been a violated expectation. What you wanted did not happen. And so there's a meaning here. Maybe actually, maybe my expectation was wrong and I need to adjust my expectation. Maybe I'm actually legitimately angry and there's an injustice that I need to deal with, right? A person who feels guilty, maybe there's guilty usually is I violated a sense of my own, of values. I violated my own values. Well, there's something here that's important to me. That's the positive message. What can I do to actually align my life with what's important to me? And so every negative emotion has a positive message if we'll stop and we'll reflect on what that is. And that can help you to move past the distraction back into focus. Thank you, Cathy.
There was another question actually from Rebecca in the chat. Can you share more about your logo? It's really great. So.
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. My logo. So as you can see in this corner, right? So it's a lion inside the face of a human. So as I mentioned, my own journey, coming from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance, I experienced a lot of fear. And as I was on the path to personal growth, every step of the way, as I think many people can attest, when you need to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to step outside your comfort zone. And so this was my depiction of that, is we need that heart of courage. We need the heart of the lion to be able to step out. It's the courage to say, this is scary, but I'm going to do it anyways. And what happens when you step outside your comfort zone, I like picturing it like this. This is your comfort zone, right? It's a circle. It's everything that you have experienced. It's everything that you've done. It's comfortable. And when you step out of your comfort zone, by definition, it's uncomfortable, right? It's difficult. But what happens when you stay outside your comfort zone actually expands to encapsulate that. And so you begin to, it almost is like your soul expands as you grow and as you develop. So I love that picture. And so that's the meaning behind my logo. Thank you, Rebecca.
Nice. Nivedita has a question also in the chat. What if you have conflicting values? For instance, she values being humble, although that value also values being the best that she can be. These values do battle.
Mm-hmm. Great question. So when you, oh man, how much time do I have to answer this question?
Go right ahead. We were
essentially
good. We built in some.
What I would, values, when you really unpack them, higher level values don't conflict. Oftentimes what conflicts is lower. What I mean by lower level values are things like possibly pleasure or relaxation or lower level values. And these are often our strategies, our certain situations. So these will conflict. But when you unpack, when you go back to the higher level values, love and joy these won't conflict. These are very general, and so they will actually work together. And so what I would do, Nivedita, with both of these values, being humble and being the best that you can be, both of them are somewhat, I'd say, mid-level values. And essentially, it would come into your specific situation, the way that you're understanding these values. But to say, ask yourself, what's important to me about being humble? What's important to me about being the best that I can be? And ask this question, what's important to me about that? And if you ask this question, what it's going to do is you're going to bring those to a higher value. And eventually you're going to come to a place where they can actually work together. And this might seem a little bit challenging. I mean, we can talk after. I can actually show you a process to actually do it. But that would be a way. So to actually find what's the why behind this value that I think conflicts. Because when I get deep enough, it won't conflict. Because from a place, and just on the surface level, looking at this, being the best that I can be and being humble doesn't need to conflict. We might see being the best that you can be as something to be proud of, and being humble as being self-effacing. But humility, I think, rightly understood, humility is seeing yourself within context. So yeah, I have gifts and abilities, but I'm only one limited person. Other people, have also their gifts and abilities, and I'm just one of those many people. And so to see myself from the right perspective, that's humility. Being the best that I can be, that is, I pursue excellence. I want to be the best that I can be. And so do these actually conflict? Not really, because actually I can be the best that I can be, and I can be confident in that, and I can know that it's good. But at the same time, I recognize my perspective isn't everything. Other people still have things that they need to teach me. And so to retain that perspective helps me to have both the confidence and the humility.
Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you very much, Orrin. Any other questions?
May I just add something to that, because I've been through that too, Nivedita, and Orrin, tell me if I'm off here, but I feel like that's a journey in itself, right? Kind of going through that, working through that, testing it in circumstances, getting it. I don't think you go from 0 to 60 with that type of thing in one day. It's about how you get there through practice and through accepting yourself. And I don't know, with you in particular, Nivedita, what you've done over the past 2 years has just been incredible. And has that been a journey, right? So how we feel about ourselves at these deepest levels, I just see that is. So I don't think we do it all at once. We do it in little steps. Sometimes we look back and say, wow, I've come so far, I didn't feel I did. And until one day we kind of see that, we're close to where we want to be with that. I think a lot of it just takes practice too, and certainly giving ourselves some grace. But I just think a lot of it's taking the step every day, isn't it, Orrin? Or isn't it? Maybe.
Thank you, Cathy. Yeah.
Well, sorry. Actually, shifting the terminology was really powerful for me. Just going from calling it humble to humility, it just takes care of everything, because I think of humility as being great. Like, it's I don't know, just change a word shift. And I think that's where the power is.
Yeah.
It's that mindset change, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love
That's
to
why I
connect.
like talking to Orrin and Cathy, and you'll soon see Rebecca so much. Sorry, Orrin, you wanted to respond to that, so go ahead.
So essentially it's like the hero's journey. It's like every story that you've ever loved, every movie or every novel that's really captured you. What has it been? It's been the hero, yeah, that's been on a, thrust outside of their, comfort zone and had to face these challenges you know, increasing challenges until they get to the final end of the movie. But under the surface, what's happening is the heroes facing themselves. They're facing their fears, and they're overcoming, and they're becoming a different person from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And the reason why this touches us so deeply is because it's our own lives, because every one of us, every one of you is on your own hero's journey. You've had ups and downs, you've had challenges, but each one of them is inviting you to become more, is inviting you to grow and to become that person who you're made to be. And so step into that hero's journey, invite in, and embrace the challenges and say, hey, what can I, sometimes the challenges really suck. Sometimes there's serious devastations that happen, but each one can shape us.
Thank you, Orrin, so much. We'll have some more time to swing back and talk to Orrin at the end for sure. I wanted to get to our next speaker, Rebecca, who has a really cool title. I've always thought so anyway. She's Northwest Edutainer. Rebecca Murray delivers high-energy virtual and live trainings to those ready to becoming confident, creative, and compelling leaders and team players. She infuses irreverent humor, inspiring stories, and entertaining musical theater excerpts into content-rich, high-stick events. Audience members eagerly engage in her one-of-a-kind interactive experiences, including play shops, keynote courses, adult continuing education at Western Washington University, and her popular one-woman show, The Confidence Equation. Welcome and thank you again for speaking, Rebecca, and take it away.
Thank you so much. Hello to you. Well, I am absolutely sure of one thing, that career success and happiness are inextricably linked to confidence. And it might surprise you to learn that there is a universal mathematical equation that explains confidence. I'm not a mathematician, but here's what I found. Maybe we have a math major in the audience. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's not that complicated. Here's what it looks like. It's C equals K plus E, which is greater than or equal to MC squared. And that lady right there, her name is Mrs. Kia. She is a mathematician from England. She couldn't make it here today because she's at a tea sampling somewhere. But we'll go back here and talk about this equation real quick before we talk about 3 ways that you can infuse this equation into your life. So C, what do you think, if you want to use your chat right now to let your fingers do the talking, what is the first C? What might that be? And it is not confidence, that's a clue. What might start off the confidence equation? Another word that starts with C related to confidence, but is not confidence. Competence, that's excellent. Certainty, I'm going to give you a clue. Here it is. I'm a lion. That's the clue. Courage, yes, like the cowardly lion who ended up getting his courage. So courage starts off our equation. Courage then leads to 2 things, knowledge and experience. That's the K and the E. And then that leads to MC squared, which is confidence in me. I mean, you would say that. You would say confidence in me because me, you, you're you, I'm me. So confidence in me, you're you. Very good. The confidence equation I lace into the Confidence in Me song and the story about Maria von Trapp in The Sound of Music. But today we are just going to pull that equation out and take a look at it very methodically. One last thing here I wanted to show you was, now that Mrs. Kia is gone, but I'm going to channel her just for a second. I'm stealing one of her brand new hats. What do you think? Looks like a dead bird. I know, it's a 1950 hat. This bird has been dead for a long, long time. But here's the thing with the confidence equation. Two very interesting things about it. Doubt kicks it off. When you think about it, is there such a thing as courage or confidence without doubt. Doesn't even exist. Can't exist with a concept without those two things. And when you think about it back in your own life, okay, I'll take the hat off. When you think about it back in your own life, you have a great idea. This is how it usually happens for me. I'm inspired. I have a great idea. I've just listened to Cathy and Orrin and Nick talking about the Alzheimer's Association and all the great things he's doing. And I'm like, oh, I could do this or that. And I wait 24 hours and then this voice of doubt comes in. It's like, oh no, someone's always done it. They could do it better than you. You should just keep to your own little thing. I'm like, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. That would be a huge mistake. So it's that doubt that comes in. And if we look at the doubt and we see it as our friend, sort of as our energy, our Kickstarter for this for the equation, then we have the courage. We say, you know what, doubt, doing it anyway. We move forward. We gain those two things, knowledge and experience, whatever the outcome. Whatever the outcome, we gain those two things always. And the trick is then, regardless of the outcome, our expectations, let's say they haven't been met. We had a goal up here. We didn't meet the goal. The trick is to step forward into the confidence zone versus sending yourself back to the comfort zone, the shame zone. I know I shouldn't have tried that. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've gained knowledge and experience. That's a great thing. I'll keep moving forward with that. This is the thing I think that has set me back in my life time and time again when I let the outcome rule how I think about myself. That one change, looking at doubt as an indicator, maybe to move ahead versus stopping in your tracks, and then not placing an expectation on yourself of good or bad, success or not success. It's just knowledge and experience. That's all it is. So let's talk about 3 ways to use this confidence equation. And I'm thinking about age extremes because I've been learning a lot about Gen Z lately. Do we have any Gen Zers? I mean, they're the 20 somethings by and large, and kids that are still in high school. And what I learned that was interesting was that many of them, their very first job is after they graduate high school, not working during high school, maybe even after college, their very first job. So they're not really having the opportunity to gain the knowledge and experience and build the confidence. So that's on one side of the equation. We have the Gen Zers who need to go through that and not beat themselves up when things don't work out, but to realize I'm gaining knowledge and experience to bring forward into my next opportunity. And then there are people on the, let's say the older set, like myself, and I'll just be transparent here. I'm 61 going on 62 years old. When I was 50 years old, the company that I worked for the last 12 years, a job that I loved, sold to a manufacturer back east. So I had the choice of going to work for a large corporation, which I knew would not fit with my values, or try to find a job in this little town that I live in. And what I learned when I started looking for a job in this little town is that I would make less than half of what I had been making. And that was a big shock to my system. And I did not want to start my own company. That was the last thing I wanted to do. But what I realized was I could start my own business and make less than half of what I was making, or I could work for somebody else and make less than half of what I was making. So I opted for my own business. The other thing I had against me is that I didn't know people here because I was always commuting out of the county every single day for that job that I loved. And so thankfully, and this is what I focus on most people now, is confidence through using your own voice to connect with people, to network, to knock on doors. And that brings me to number two. So number one is we take a look at where we are in our career. If we are looking back on our childhood dreams and thinking at the age that I am now, you know, I've never pursued that dream because I've always been afraid to. Hey, when you get to my age, it's truly now or never. This is the swan song years, you know, this is the third act, that sort of thing. So if you have nothing to lose, like Orrin said, you have absolutely nothing to lose if now is the time to pursue your dream. So the second is when we pursue our dreams, or we have an interview for a job, or we're an entrepreneur and we're trying to build a new business. There's one thing when we circle back to this equation that can set us back faster than that, and that is rejection. I'm rejected all the time. All the time, I'm rejected. People don't return my phone calls. People don't return my emails. Now, I don't know if it's because they don't like me. Pretty much, I think they're not even thinking of me. I'm not on their radar anywhere, but I can't take that personally. If I took that personally, I would end up in my comfort zone all the time. And if all of us are in our comfort zones, nothing in the world will ever happen. So taking that risk, first of all, when we feel rejected, thinking it's not about me at all, and I just have to keep moving forward. I mean, you think about some of the great, like, well, this might not be the best example, but the story of Colonel Sanders with his Kentucky Fried Chicken and that 7 herbs and spices or whatever it was. He was in an extremely precarious financial position when he wanted to make it big in the chicken world. He drove across the country in his station wagon. He knocked on 1,500 doors, I think it was, before he got his first yes. Can you imagine that? I've got these herbs and spices for chicken. How about a contract? You know what I'm saying? That takes guts. That takes guts. And that's where that courage comes in. It's really all about the step of courage. So yes, we get rejected all the time. And one of the things that I learned, and people love this sentence, although you do have to be careful with it, is your opinion of me is none of my business. Your opinion of me is none of my business. That's what I have to say. Although do not say that to your parents, your supervisor, your boss, or anybody who cuts you a check. Don't use that. No. But mentally you think, okay, somebody doesn't like me. Somebody's not returning phone calls. Somebody is, I'm basically don't exist to them. That's fine. That's their communication with me is not their priority. Doing business with me is not their priority. That's their prerogative. I cannot let it affect how I think about myself. And certainly I cannot let it affect my confidence. I just keep marching forward with a step of courage, one step at a time. Take that equation over and over and over again, this way, not this way. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Like a merry-go-round? No, this way, up, straight up. So tying this together with stories, I do agree with Orrin, let's put our stories of success out into the world. But it's really the stories of hardship is where we connect as human beings, where we connect in the abyss. I've heard that said, and I think it's really true. We connect in failure. Why else would we pay money to see a good movie unless we, for a happy movie that's all sunshine and roses? That would be the most boring movie on earth. I would never pay for that. Never in a million years. No, I want a story with some drama. I want a story with that hero's journey. And even if it doesn't work out for the hero, they've gained 2 things. What are those? Can you put those in the chat? What are the 2 things the hero gained? What are they? 2 things. Knowledge and experience. Yeah, the crowd goes wild. Same for us. When don't you hate that question when somebody's like, so tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. You're like, well, and you're thinking of all these positive things you need to come up with. I worked with a group and we gained 36% profit over the last 2 years. Those are boring stories. Those are important stories. I mean, somebody who's going to put your resume together, those are the kind of things, those need to be on there. But what I want to know, if I were hiring you or somebody were hiring me, this kind of stories that I would tell, I would give them a little mini hero's journey story. I would tell them about the times that I have self-perceived failures, what I learned, what I experienced, and what I learned. And when I can articulate that with confidence, this person on the other side of the table says, you're hired. Or, yes, I want to buy some of that. Don't you agree? When somebody is that authentic and vulnerable, I mean, practice this in advance, get a little bit of feedback. But when you can share a story of the abyss, basically, it's this equation is what you're sharing. I had doubt about XYZ. I took a step of courage. It worked out. It didn't work out. Here's what I learned. Here's what I experienced. Here's me. Who wouldn't want to hire somebody who has the guts to tell a story like that in an interview? Yes. So there we go. Let's see if there's one other thing that I wanted to say. Yes, how you say your name, how you speak about yourself. In the classes that I teach at the college, we spend the first part of every single session learning each other's names and articulating them slowly and clearly exactly how we wish. We have one woman who her name is Marlene. She spells it Marlene. That's how we would normally pronounce it. In this class, everybody encouraged her, well, hey, if that's your name, then that's how I want to learn to enunciate it. It is so honoring when we learn another's name and learn how to enunciate it clearly and crisply. And when somebody doesn't pronounce your name clearly and crisply, find a way to nicely, gracefully help them learn it. Like, for example, I wrote down, whose name was it here? That I know this is going to be okay, maybe you can unmute and tell me how to pronounce your name. Nivedita. Nivedita?
Nivedita.
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 Nivedita. See, I would practice that. I would record you and I would practice it over and over and over again, especially if I were going to introduce you to somebody else or to the stage, to use your voice, because we're all loving to hear what you have to say. So those are just a few things going back to review. We start with the confidence equation, whether that we are just starting off in our career, whether we're in the midst of the career for that promotion, for that raise, or if we are in our, like me, later on in life, where we're looking back at our maybe perhaps unfinished business, those dreams that we didn't pursue, and we take that step of courage to make that happen. That's this business that I have now. That is part of this. I'll tell you, the other thing that can really give you courage to be daring is when you face a terminal illness or a potentially terminal illness. So a year ago this month, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And of course, I did not know what the outcome would be. I've had a couple of surgeries and everything's fine now. But it was during that journey, using my voice and sharing it with folks online, just to more educational, like, here's what I'm going through next, and here's what I'm going. So many women came forward and they said, I went through that too, but I just kept it to myself. I kept it to myself because I was just ashamed, embarrassed, whatever it was. But now I have the confidence to talk about it, and it's a weight has been lifted off. So using your voice on behalf of yourself, when you meet somebody, to say your name with great eye contact, clearly, confidently, to think about those heroes' journey stories that maybe worked out well or maybe didn't meet your expectations, but have the confidence to wrap those up with a bow and share them with others, because that is how we connect. Our brains love it. Empathy, connection, compassion makes us all happy. And that brings me back to the confidence equation, in which I say, this is the one thing: confidence and happiness are inextricably linked. So go get some confidence, take that step of courage. It's been a pleasure to address you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Do you have any questions for Rebecca?
Anybody want to know about where I got this hat? I'm wearing this as a on stage for an MC. My husband says, do not wear that out of the house. So I can tell him, honey, I'm not out of the house. Look I'm right here in my house wearing my hat. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool though.
I like it.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, women always wore hats back in the 50s and started going downhill in the 60s, I guess. Yeah.
Well,
wearing a hat
fashion
shows
always comes
confidence.
back around. Well, all right. If there's no questions, I'll wrap up the program, and then we'll turn off the recording so that we can network and talk and ask questions that we may not want to do in front of recording. I just want to thank all of our speakers once again, Rebecca, Cathy, and Orrin, for sharing their expertise. I did share their links in the chat. I urge you to connect with each and every one of them. And I want to thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca. Go ahead.
I forgot, Nick. I had this. I do have a download that is more for if you are planning on speaking, if you have a speaking opportunity coming up, those ones that you're in front of an audience. This QR code will take you to that document that you can download, that PDF, and it basically takes you through the mindset, five different steps that will help you right out of the gate come out confidently, clearly and confidently to connect with your audience. That's what that will do, whether it's virtual or on stage.
Link in there too.
I have one question. Hi, Shraddha here. Just want to ask, like, if you have that opportunity, what is the one thing that is important? It is, I just know that if you crack a joke in the starting, or if you just start your speaking like with a question. So what is the most effective way to start your keynote presentation?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. This download actually gives you 8 different ideas in how to powerfully start that very first sentence, which could be a quote, a question. A question's always a good one. Getting people to nod their heads, raise your hand if, and always speaking to the you versus all of you. Not, does anybody know? It is, raise your hand if you know. See the power of you versus all of you. So you're speaking 1-to-1. So it has, a quote, a powerful statistic, where you're not, fumbling or, oh, thank you, everybody. It's really nice to be here. It is right out of the gate with that powerful sentence. So definitely get that.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's really useful.
Yeah, great question. Great answer. Well, thank you again. I'll wrap this part up. We can all start talking. I'll turn off the recording, but I wanted to thank you all again for your support for the Alzheimer's Association and for our speakers, and thank you for taking time to speak with us all today. So I'm going to turn the recording off,